The highway stretched endlessly under the purple dusk, the roar of Harley engines cutting through the silence like thunder. I rode at the front of our pack, leather worn from 1,000 miles, the wind carrying the scent of gasoline and freedom. We were heading back from a run, the kind of business that kept our club alive, but kept us looking over our shoulders. The life of an outlaw biker isn't what people think it is. It's not just rebellion and brotherhood. It's choices that haunt you, debts that never get paid, and a code that sometimes feels heavier than the chains we wear. We stopped at a roadside diner just outside of Bakersfield, the kind of place where nobody asks questions and the coffee tastes like regret. I was lighting a cigarette when I saw her, a little girl, maybe 7 years old, standing by our bikes like she was waiting for someone. Her clothes were too small, her face smudged with dirt, and her eyes held something I hadn't seen in a long time, pure desperation. She walked straight up to me, fearless, her small hand gripping a crumpled piece of paper. "Are you the bad guys?" she asked. I crouched down to her level, confused. "Depends who you ask, kid. Why?" She looked back at a beat-up sedan, parked in the shadows, where a woman sat behind the wheel, her face hidden, but her shoulders shaking. The girl turned back to me, her voice trembling but determined. "My mum says bad guys know how to fight. I need someone who knows how to fight." Before I could respond, she handed me the paper. It was a restraining order against a man named Derek Pullman. Violations marked in red ink. 3 dates in the last month alone. "He hurt my mom real bad last night," she whispered. "The police say they can't do nothing unless he does it again. But he will. He always does." She looked up at me with eyes that had seen too much, and then she said the words that would change everything. "I don't need the police. I need a father. Just for one day. Someone who'll make him go away forever." Now, before I tell you what happened next, I need you to understand something. This isn't just a story. This is about the moments that define who we are, the choices we make, when everything we believe in is tested. If you're watching this, I want you to hit that subscribe button right now, because what I'm about to share goes deeper than anything you've seen on this channel. Leave a like if you believe some battles are worth fighting, even when the law won't, and comment below. Tell me honestly, what would you do if a child looked you in the eyes and asked you to save their mother's life? Because here's what I haven't told you yet. The man that little girl was talking about, Derek Pullman, he wasn't just some abusive boyfriend. He had connections. Police connections. His brother was a detective in the county sheriff's department, which is why every report that woman filed disappeared into thin air. The system that was supposed to protect her had become her prison. And me? I had my own history with men like Derek, a history I buried deep, wrapped in anger and sealed with scar tissue. What the club did next, what I convinced them to do, it violated every rule we lived by. It put targets on our backs. And when the truth finally came out, when we discovered who Derek Pullman really was, and what he'd done to others before, it shook me to my core. Stay with me, because this isn't just about revenge. It's about redemption, honor, and the father I never had. I folded the restraining order and looked at the girl. "What's your name?" "Emma." "Emma, where's your mom now?" She pointed to the sedan. I walked over slowly, my brothers watching from the diner entrance. The woman inside rolled down the window halfway, just enough for me to see the bruises, fresh ones. Her left eye was swollen shut, her lip split open. She was maybe 30 years old, but looked 50. Fear does that to people. It ages them, breaks them down until they're just surviving, not living. "Ma'am, I'm not here to hurt you," I said carefully. "Your daughter, she's asking for help." "I didn't tell her to do that," she said quickly, her voice shaking. "I don't want trouble. He'll kill me if he knows I'm talking to anyone." "Then why did you bring her here, to this diner where you knew we'd be?" She looked away, tears streaming down her face. "Because I'm out of options. The police won't help. My family won't help. Nobody will help. And yesterday he told Emma she's next. That when she's older, he'll teach her what a real man is." The words hit me like a sledgehammer. I turned away, my fists clenching so hard my knuckles cracked. My mind went back 28 years, to a trailer park in Nevada, to the sound of my mother crying through thin walls, to the man who called himself her boyfriend but was really just a monster with a smile. He was Emma's age when I first tried to stop him. He broke my arm in 3 places, told me real men don't cry. I never saw him again after that night. My uncle, a member of the Iron Wolves MC, he handled it. I never asked what he did. I never had to. I walked back to the diner where my brothers were waiting. Rattlesnake, our sergeant-at-arms, read my face immediately. "You've got that look," he said. "The one that means we're about to do something stupid." "Not stupid," I replied. "Necessary. Our club, the Desert Reapers MC, we had rules. Clear rules. No civilian drama. No getting involved in domestic situations unless it directly affected the club. And most importantly, no heat from the law. We were already under federal surveillance for suspected gun trafficking. One wrong move, and we'd all go down. I called a quick meeting in the parking lot. 7 of us stood in a circle, the desert wind howling around us like it was listening. "There's a woman and a kid in that car," I said, pointing. "The woman's being beaten by a man with police protection. The kid asked us for help. She asked me to be her father for a day." Rattlesnake shook his head. "We can't. You know the heat we're under right now." "I know." "Then you know this is suicide." "Maybe." Ghost, our oldest member and the one who'd seen the most blood, he stepped forward. He was 56, built like a brick wall, with eyes that had stopped showing emotion decades ago. But when he spoke, there was something different in his voice. "What's the guy's name?" "Derek Pullman. His brother's a detective with the county." Ghost went quiet. Too quiet. Then he looked at me with an expression I'd never seen on his face before. Recognition and rage. "I know that name," he said slowly. "Derek Pullman. 6 years ago there was a case. A teenage girl, 17, found dead in a motel outside Palmdale. Overdose, they called it. But her sister swore she was clean. Swore Derek Pullman was her dealer and her boyfriend. Case got buried. The detective who buried it was his brother." The circle went silent. Ghost continued. "That girl was my niece." The air changed. Every man in that circle felt it. This wasn't just about helping strangers anymore. This was family. This was unfinished business. This was the code we actually lived by underneath all the rules and politics. "We do this," Ghost said. "We do it smart. No bodies, no evidence. But we make sure he never touches another woman or child again." I looked around the circle. One by one, my brothers nodded. Rattlesnake sighed. "All right, but we vote on it proper. All in favor of breaking every rule we've got to save this kid?" 7 hands went up. We brought the woman and Emma inside the diner. Her name was Sarah. She'd been with Derek for 2 years, trapped by threats, isolation, and a system that protected him instead of her. She told us everything. His schedule, his habits, where he worked, where he drank, and most importantly, where he'd be tonight. "He always goes to O'Malley's bar on Friday nights," Sarah said. "Gets drunk, brags to his friends about how he keeps me in line. Then he comes home around midnight and it starts all over again." "Does he carry a weapon?" Ghost asked. "A pistol. Glock 19. He's got a concealed carry permit." Of course he did. We had 6 hours to prepare. Rattlesnake and I went to scout O'Malley's bar, while Ghost stayed with Sarah and Emma. The bar was exactly what we expected. Cop hangout, dim lighting, pool tables in the back. Derek's brother, Detective Ryan Pullman, was there too, laughing loudly at the bar with 2 other officers. This was going to be complicated. "We can't touch him here," Rattlesnake muttered. "Too many witnesses, too many cops." "We don't need to touch him here," I said. "We just need to get him alone." We went back to the diner and laid out the plan. Sarah would call Derek from a burner phone, tell him she wanted to apologize, that she was ready to come home. She'd ask him to meet her at the old industrial park on the east side of town, the one that had been abandoned for 5 years. Neutral ground, she'd say. A place they could talk. Men like Derek, their egos make them stupid. He'd come. Sarah's hands shook as she dialed the number. Emma held her mother's other hand, silent and watching. When Derek answered, Sarah's voice became small, broken, exactly what he wanted to hear. "Derek, baby, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Can we talk? Just you and me. I'll meet you anywhere you want." His voice came through the speaker, loud and cruel. You think you can just apologize and I'll forget? You embarrassed me, Sarah. You called the cops on me again. I know. I was wrong. Please, just give me a chance to make it right. There was a long pause. Then where? The old industrial park, east side, by the water tower. 1 hour. You better be there. And you better be alone. If I see anyone with you, if I even think you're playing games, I'm coming for Emma next. You understand me? Sarah's voice cracked. I understand. He hung up. Emma looked up at her mother with tears in her eyes. Is he really going to stop hurting you? Sarah pulled her daughter close. Yes, baby. These men, they're going to make sure he never hurts us again. I knelt down in front of Emma. Your mom's going to stay here with one of my friends. You're going to be safe. I promise you that. Will you really be my father today? She asked. The question broke something inside me. I thought about my own father, the one I never met. I thought about the man who hurt my mother and the uncle who saved us. I thought about all the little boys and girls who ask for protection and get silence instead. Yeah, kid, I said, my voice rough. Just for today, I'm your father. And fathers protect their children. The industrial park was a graveyard of rust and broken dreams. Old warehouses stood like silent witnesses, their windows shattered, their walls covered in graffiti. The water tower loomed above it all, a steel giant painted with faded letters no one could read anymore. We arrived an hour early, 6 of us, positioned in the shadows, invisible but ready. Ghost and I stood near the water tower, the designated meeting spot. Rattlesnake and 2 others covered the exits. We had one rule tonight, no killing. Derek Pullman was going to face justice, but it wouldn't be our kind. Not this time. At exactly 9:47 p.m., headlights cut through the darkness. A black Ford F-150 rolled into the lot, slow and cautious. Derek Pullman stepped out, and even from 50 feet away, I could see the arrogance in his walk. He was a big man, 6'2", barrel-chested, the kind who'd spent his life using size to intimidate. He wore jeans, a leather jacket, and his hand rested on the gun at his hip. He looked around, scanning for Sarah. Sarah, he called out. I'm here. Where are you? I stepped out of the shadows. Derek's hand went to his gun immediately. Who the hell are you? Someone who's tired of watching cowards hurt women and children, I said calmly. His face twisted into a sneer. You've got about 5 seconds to turn around and walk away before I put a bullet in your skull. You know who my brother is? I do, Detective Ryan Pullman, the one who's been covering up your crimes for years. He pulled his gun. But before he could aim it, Rattlesnake appeared behind him, twisting his wrist until the weapon clattered to the ground. 2 more of my brothers emerged from the darkness, surrounding him. Derek's bravado cracked. You're making a big mistake. My brother will bury you. Your brother, Ghost said, stepping into the light, let my niece die. You killed her, and he helped you get away with it. Derek's face went pale. Recognition and fear, Ghost continued, his voice like gravel. Melissa Torres, 17 years old. You gave her the drugs that killed her. You left her in that motel, and your brother made sure the case disappeared. I don't know what you're talking about, Derek stammered. Yes, you do. I pulled out a folder, the one Ghost had brought with him. Inside were police reports, witness statements, text messages between Derek and his brother, all the evidence that had been buried. Ghost had spent 6 years collecting it, waiting for the moment when he could finally make it matter. Here's what's going to happen, I said. You're going to turn yourself in. You're going to confess to assaulting Sarah, and you're going to tell the truth about Melissa Torres. Derek laughed, but it was hollow. And if I don't, then this folder goes to the FBI, along with video footage of you admitting everything. Rattlesnake held up a phone, recording. Derek's face went from pale to white. You're bluffing. Try me, Ghost said. I've got nothing to lose. You took my niece. You think I care what happens to me now? For the first time, Derek Pullman understood what real fear felt like. But then headlights. Multiple vehicles coming fast. The roar of engines echoed through the industrial park. Police cruisers, 4 of them, surrounding us within seconds. Doors opened, officers stepping out with weapons drawn. Detective Ryan Pullman walked through them, his badge gleaming under the floodlights. Well, Ryan said, smirking. Looks like my little brother was right. You idiots actually showed up. Derek laughed, his confidence returning. Told you they'd come. Dumb bikers always think they're heroes. My heart sank. We'd been set up. Sarah's call. It had been monitored. Or worse, Derek had never believed it, had told his brother, and they'd planned this ambush together. Ryan approached, his hand on his weapon. You boys are under arrest for attempted kidnapping, assault with intent, and about a dozen other charges I'm going to make up as we go. Ghost didn't move. He just stared at Ryan Pullman with those dead eyes. You're going to arrest us for trying to protect a woman and child you refuse to help? I'm going to arrest you for being the criminals you are, even after you see this? Ghost held up the folder. Ryan's smirk faltered. What is that? Evidence. 6 years' worth. Text messages between you and your brother about Melissa Torres. Bank records showing payments you received to bury the case. Photos of you meeting with the coroner who faked her toxicology report. The other officers shifted uncomfortably. Ryan's face hardened. That's fabricated. None of that will hold up. Maybe not, Ghost said. But it'll be enough to start an investigation. And once Internal Affairs starts digging, they're going to find everything else you've buried. All the other cases. All the other victims. One of the officers, a younger guy, stepped forward. Detective Pullman, what's he talking about? Shut up, Martinez, Ryan snapped. But Martinez didn't shut up. He looked at the folder, then at Ghost, then at Derek, and I saw something click behind his eyes. Sir, is this about the Torres case? Because I remember that case. It never sat right with me. I said, shut up, but the damage was done. The other officers were looking at Ryan differently now. Suspicion, doubt, and then the moment that changed everything. Sarah stepped out of Rattlesnake's truck, parked in the shadows. Emma was with her. They walked into the light, and every officer saw the bruises on Sarah's face. That's my wife, Derek said quickly. She's lying. She fell. Tell them, Sarah. Sarah looked at him, then at the officers, then at Emma, and for the first time in 2 years, she found her voice. He did this to me. He's done it 20 times before. I've filed reports. I've begged for help. And every time his brother makes it disappear, Martinez lowered his weapon. Ma'am, do you want to press charges? Yes, Sarah said, her voice strong now. I want him arrested. I want him away from my daughter. Ryan stepped forward, his face twisted with rage. She's lying. My brother would never... Detective Pullman, Martinez interrupted, his voice hard. I'm calling this in, and I'm requesting Internal Affairs. Ryan went for his gun. It was instinct, panic, the move of a man who'd spent years covering up crimes and finally saw his world collapsing. But he never cleared the holster. Ghost moved faster than a man his age should. He grabbed Ryan's wrist, twisted, and the detective went down hard. Within seconds, the other officers had their weapons trained on Ryan instead of us. Martinez cuffed him. Derek tried to run. Rattlesnake stopped him with one punch. The sound of Derek hitting the pavement was the most satisfying thing I'd heard in years. 6 months later, I stood in a courtroom and watched Derek Pullman sentenced to 18 years for aggravated assault, witness intimidation, and in connection with Melissa Torres's death, manslaughter. His brother Ryan got 22 years for corruption, evidence tampering, and obstruction of justice. The investigation Martinez triggered uncovered 11 other cases Ryan had buried. 11 other victims who finally got their voices heard. Sarah and Emma moved to Colorado, far away from California, far away from the memories. Before they left, Sarah found me at a diner, the same one where Emma had first approached us. I don't know how to thank you, she said. You don't have to. Emma wants to say goodbye. The little girl ran up and hugged my legs. You kept your promise. You were my father for a day. I knelt down, my throat tight. You're going to have a good life now, kid. Your mom's strong. You're strong. You don't need me anymore. But what if I want to remember you? I took off my leather vest, the one with the Desert Reaper's patch, and I put it over her shoulders. It swallowed her small frame, made her look like she was wearing armor. You keep this, I said. And when you're older, if you ever need help, You find someone wearing one of these. Tell them Ghost's niece sent you. They'll help. That's the real code. She nodded, her eyes wet with tears. I'll remember. Sarah took her daughter's hand, and they walked out of my life forever. The club changed after that night. We made a decision, all of us together. We'd keep doing our business, the gray area work that kept the bills paid. But we'd also do something else. We'd watch. We'd listen. And when we heard about situations like Sarah's, situations where the system failed and the vulnerable suffered, we'd step in. Not as vigilantes. As protectors, we partnered with a women's shelter. Started a fund for kids escaping abuse. Ghost dedicated his life to it, turning his pain into purpose. As for me, I think about Emma every day. I think about my mother, about the uncle who saved us, about the cycle of violence that destroys families, and the rare moments when someone chooses to break it. Being a father, even for just one day, it taught me something. It's not about blood. It's not about being perfect. It's about showing up when a child needs protection and saying, "Not on my watch, not ever again." The highway still calls to me. The roar of the engine, the wind, the freedom. But now, when I ride, I'm not running from anything. I'm riding toward something, toward the next person who needs help, toward the next fight worth taking, toward redemption, because that's what being an outlaw really means. Not breaking the law, breaking the chains that keep people trapped in darkness. And if a little girl ever approaches you, desperate and scared, asking for help, I hope you remember this story. I hope you say yes.